Welcome back to the Banganator podcast, episode 32, and I'm here with a special guest, Saginaw football head coach, Mike Peters. How you doing, Coach?
Great, man. I'm great. I'm glad to be here. Good to see you again, and glad to be on here to talk a little bit about Rough Rider football.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You were my favorite coach growing up, middle school, high school, even back when I was playing SYA football, like favorite coach. So just thank you for being a leader and the coach that you were.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, it's over the years coaching all these, lots and thousands of kids. It's great to see them not only get better as athletes, as young athletes, but to see them like yourself, moving on, doing something that's your passion and really trying to find your place in the world. That makes me feel like we were successful as a coaching staff.
I appreciate that, Coach. Thank you. So I'm just going to ask you a few questions just for, audience to get to know you a little bit. How did you come to love the game of football?
I grew up, my dad was a coach. He was a baseball coach and a football coach. So I grew up in West Texas, and there's really not a whole lot to do other than play something or be out in the country somewhere, So I played sports growing up. Football was one of those things. It's big everywhere, but in West Texas and the little towns, it's all that there is. Everybody's town's kind of identified by that. So
kind of like Friday Night Lights. Huh?
Exactly like that. I grew up just about 70 miles west of where all that took place, So just came to play. Like I said, my dad was a coach, and I really started, in a junior high level and played all the way through. And then I knew I wanted to coach. I played other sports as well, but football was really the one that, it's different than anything else. I think the physical aspect of it, the team aspect of it, from the player and the coach side, just makes it more special to you. And, it had me hooked from early on. And, being a coach was a way to stay in the game as long as they'll let me,
Yeah, that's true. Definitely a way of life.
Yes, no doubt.
Do you got a favorite NFL team?
I did. Growing up, my favorite NFL team was the Houston Oilers.
Oh, okay.
All right. And since they kind of gone away, I really don't now. Of course, living here in the Metroplex and all that, Dallas is always somebody to root for. But I really don't have one. I love the game. I love to watch college football. I love to watch professional football. We don't have a lot of time for that. We work a lot of weekends, but I do enjoy it.
True. That's what I was going to ask next. Do you got a favorite college team, or is it your alma mater, or
I do. My alma mater, I graduated from Angelo State, which go Rams. We just won the national championship Division II in baseball.
Okay, awesome.
So football program is really good, and always has been. But big time college football, I'm probably Notre Dame and the University of Oklahoma. Those are the two that I know that's a little bit off on you, but they're probably the two that I root for the most.
Yeah. OU sucks. But as you know, I'm a Cowboys fan, Longhorns fan.
Yes.
So what do you like to do whenever you're not coaching football?
Like I said, I grew up kind of out in the country. I like outdoor stuff. I like to play golf, and I like to play golf. I have some guys I play with in my coaching staff as well, and we like to have a good time.
Okay.
I like to hunt and fish,
Okay.
and I really like to spend time with the family. You don't get a lot of that during the season, so when you get some hours, it's always good to have cookout or whatever, and have something with my wife and my two kids, and I got 3 grandbabies now, and so
awesome.
There's a lot. It's growing there all the time, and so finding some time to spend with them was also a lot of fun for me.
Yeah. I want to try to get better at golf myself. I go to Top Golf sometimes, but I don't think I'm good enough to go out to a course yet.
Well, it's just one of those things that, especially in my business, it's a way to get out, and when you have 3 or 4 hours, you can go spend with some people, and there's not all that distraction. You can just get on the course and play.
That's true. So this is kind of a fun question. If you could go back in time and have a 10-year career in a professional sport other than football, what would it be and why?
this is gonna be, like you said, it's gonna be a fun question. This is way I would like to be, if I could change something up, if there was something out there,
Uh-huh.
maybe like a park ranger or game warden,
Oh, okay. All
something
right.
that's kind of out there,
Yeah.
out of the public eye, but
Yeah.
kind of still doing good for stuff.
Okay. All right.
I seems peaceful to me. It may not be, but it
Yeah.
seems that way,
Yeah.
and I think that would be something that I'd be interested in.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still need to go hunting. That's
Mhm.
that's on my to-do list, in my life. But I have went to the gun range,
Mhm.
shot a 9 millimeter,
Mhm.
shot a 12 gauge,
Mhm.
shot a um, automatic rifle as well,
Mhm.
AR-15.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's definitely fun. Your first time around at Saginaw High School,
Mhm.
you rose through the ranks, offensive line coach,
Mhm.
offensive coordinator.
Mhm.
You became the head coach in
Mhm.
2011 until 2016.
Mhm.
You're the winningest head coach in Saginaw football history.
Mhm.
What was it like rising through the ranks like that and becoming head coach?
First of all, on that, I think that was I was, that all went kind of fast, but I was also lucky to be able to experience all that. Years back when I started my career, I was a junior high coach. I think I learned lots of lessons from that, and
Mhm.
then as my travels as an assistant, and then ending up at Saginaw as an assistant, I
Mhm.
think that learning how to coach at a position, and then running the offense. You kind of learn your players at a different level. Plus, I got to learn from some really good coaches.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
first head coach at Saginaw,
Mhm.
Mike Levy,
Yeah.
who opened up the school.
Mhm.
He's somebody who is, he's a Hall of Famer in Texas high school football, and he taught me so much about coaching that was outside of X's and O's,
Mhm. Yeah.
and how to handle kids, and a lot of it that he taught was really by example. He
Mhm.
never sat me down and said, "You do these things,"
Mm.
but I watched how he did things, and it just, he was special, and to be able to maybe emulate him in some way has really helped. But rising up through the ranks, and it also gave me a huge tie to the school and the
Yeah.
program.
Yeah.
Because we opened that school in 2005, and as I
Mhm.
went, like you said, up the ranks, it just becomes more and more like it's yours and it's your home. and
True.
and like I said, I've coached around the state, but I've spent the majority of my time there at Saginaw,
Mhm.
so it feels like my home school, my
Yeah.
hometown,
Yeah.
and it's a very, very special place to
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
because of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there a lot of pressure being head coach?
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure being head coach, and at first you don't see it that way. It's more about the wins and losses,
Mhm.
but then you start to see, like I said to you earlier, we're also in this business. We're not college coaches. We're
Yeah.
not professional league coaches.
Yeah.
My job is to put good young men out in the world, and so you find that thing too. Where are you doing what's right by a kid in football
Mhm.
versus what's right by him down the road?
True.
Or are you teaching them lessons that are going to
True.
help them, as they get older? That may be successful. What I did with you may have helped us win on Friday, but is
Mhm.
that going to help you when you're 25 or 35 and raising a family? And so those pressures wear on you. And then I also think that the winning and losing really starts to bother you when you start to think about the other coaches and families that are tied to you.
Mm.
You don't do well, and they tell you to move down the road. Well,
Yeah.
sometimes that entails 5 or 6 or 7 other families
Yeah.
having to
Yep.
pack up their stuff and
Yep.
and move. And you may be ready, but they may not be.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that comes to it. I do think that the longer you do it, the easier that pressure. It's easier to deal with that pressure because you can put things in better perspective.
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. The nature of the business, and
Mhm.
I can only imagine how challenging it is to teach and coach young men that at that age we're still immature
Mhm.
and still sometimes doing dumb stupid things. I remember being in the locker room, the field house, those days, but at the same time, we're becoming young men.
Mhm.
So I can only imagine how challenging that is.
Yes, yes, it is challenging, and but it's great.
Hmm.
It's the most reward. I tell people all the time, they want to I don't know what I want to do, coach. And they think, well, maybe I want to do what you do. And I tell them, come on and do it, because in the end, the reward for all that stuff, I get to sit here with you today. And I told the whole staff when I was leaving practice this morning that, about you and all this stuff that was set up, and it just makes it incredible to see something like that you've accomplished. You put a product out into the world that you're really proud of.
To God glows the glory.
Yes.
Your first time, or like 2011, 2016, was there did you have a favorite class of players, or was there a class that was the most talented that you can think of?
Probably the 2012 season
Hmm.
was probably the most talented group we had. But I think that was also a combination of stuff. 2010, when they came up, which was actually my first season
Hmm.
there as head coach, in 2010, we actually got moved up in classification. So we
Okay,
went
yeah.
into a bigger district. We went in there with the likes of Denton Geyer and South Lake,
Hmm.
and those kids were all sophomores. And we struggled. We weren't, we couldn't compete at their level, especially with our better class being 10th graders
Yeah.
at the time. And
Yeah.
so as they moved up and grew and learned to play at that level, then we got reclassified
Mm.
2 years later into a different district. And that group had not only were talented athletically and naturally, but they had been through the fire.
Uh-huh.
And so, that they understood what it meant to play at such a high level. And so that was probably our most talented group. I know the group that played in 14 was probably not as talented, but they were special to me
Yeah.
because my son was in that class, but also they were just workers.
Mhm.
They didn't, they struggled wins and losses wise, but it had nothing to do with their effort.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
were bought in, they played hard, and they just didn't quite have enough to get over the hump. But
Yeah.
I always look back at that class of kids, and as I've moved forward, I compare teams. When we start talking preseason and we start talking to kids, I use them as an example lots of times about what hard work does for you and
Yeah.
how it will pay off at some point.
Yeah. I think I remember. I kind of remember because I was still a freshman in
Hmm.
2012. But I kind of remember that senior class. Didn't y'all go to the playoffs
We
too that
did, we
year?
did, and we
Yeah.
actually ended up facing one of our old district opponents in Geyer, who won the
Yeah.
state championship, I believe, that year. And
Hmm.
and they were we gave them a heck of a game.
Hmm. Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
we don't draw those guys first, it may have had a longer run, but we
Yeah.
played them really well, and it was just a real talented group of kids, and
Mhm.
they played hard, and they're still they've won the most games in Saginaw history. We had 7 or 8 big time college signees off that team.
Okay.
It was a good class of
Okay.
kids.
That's awesome. That's
Mhm.
awesome. The 2015 season, which is my senior year, our senior year, and call it a last dance, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, I became a captain surprisingly.
Mhm.
We had so much talent on that team as well. John Poston at QB,
Yes.
Jermaine Lewis at running back. Both of them were 3-year starters,
Mhm.
or 2.5 years.
Mhm.
Aaron Chenda, my cousin, at wide receiver. On the defensive side as well, Emilio Rogers, Matt Wilson at linebacker, Devin Mendez at linebacker, Jonathan Compton at cornerback,
Mhm.
Josiah Hawkins, and Frank Honing at safety. I was playing DN, but I did get injured on the scrimmage before the year started, so that kind of sucked. But I only missed 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But there was so much talent, and as a whole, the season as a whole, we kind of underperformed.
Mhm.
We did start off 3-0,
Mhm.
beating the Colony. I think
Mhm.
they were ranked number 25th in
Mhm.
the state. So what was your expectation for that? I mean, of course, coaches have high expectations at the beginning of the
Mhm.
season, but how did you think the season was going to go like?
I did, that group that y'all had, that was probably the second most talented group that I had as a head coach.
Mhm.
There were tremendous players all over the field, and I do think that we underperformed on that, and that was one of the things. We talk about pressure, talk about things in head coaching. I've beat myself up for years on that because trying to look back and to see where the mistakes or what I could have done different to get us over the edge because
Mhm.
we were talented,
Mhm.
and also that was a really good group of kids.
Yeah.
They were talking about being on the captain's council, and we had some really high character kids on that. But somewhere in there, we couldn't translate that to the field,
Mhm.
especially in some big games that we
Mhm.
needed to win.
Yeah.
Down the road.
Yeah.
And so that's one of those teams that I had hopes for, and I wouldn't say it's a disappointment, but if there were a team that I thought really could have performed at the highest of levels, I think that could have been them.
Yeah.
Your group,
Yeah.
and I have that's one of those things that you reevaluate yourself at the end of every year,
Yeah.
and to this day, that's a long time ago, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
9 seasons, 10 seasons, whatever ago, and I still hold that as a grading point for myself.
Mhm.
For why we didn't get done. I think we were 4 or 5-1 at one point. We just beat Nasal
Yeah.
for homecoming,
Yep.
and that was a district game, gotten off rolling, and then
Mhm.
we just kind of got into a skid, got
Mhm.
beat by a team that hadn't won a game all
Uh,
year.
I think it was Ryder.
It was
He
Wichita Falls
Wichita Falls.
High
Yeah.
School, yes,
Uh-huh.
sir. And so, in a tough game,
Mhm.
we lost 10-7 in that
Mhm.
game.
Yeah.
And then just from that point on, we never could get our mojo
Mhm.
back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and honestly, that's when people talk about what's a head coach's role in that. That's the head coach's role.
Mhm.
Somewhere in there, the head coach has to find a way to get that group of young men over that and into the next game
Okay.
and find that road back to success. And for whatever reason, I never could
Yeah.
that year with you guys. And it had nothing to do with y'all as being not good young men, because you,
Mhm.
you were one of the talk about. I think we signed 9 kids to college out of that grade.
Oh, yeah. 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 That's right.
Emilio was one of them.
Mhm.
He was a
Yep.
good play. Jonathan Compton signed. There was
Yeah.
quite a few that
Yeah.
signed out of there, and
Uh-huh.
we just didn't put it together on Friday night when we needed to.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember specifically the Wichita Falls game. I remember, like, for whatever reason that week at practice, people were lackadaisical a little
Yes.
bit, and I think there might have been a mentality of getting a little too full of
Hmm.
yourselves, as players, as a group.
Hmm.
But we definitely got humbled that Friday, and then I remember we had to win one of the last two games
Yes.
to get into the playoffs, and the first round was going to be at AT&T Stadium, I
Hmm.
believe. So yeah, that's a shame that we couldn't make it happen, but
Yes.
that's
And you're
life.
right, that's something as a coach that you register your team, watch your team. We were all week at practice was tough,
Mhm.
and I remember in pregame you spoke about Frank Honang, and we were down there working special team stuff, and I told Frank, I said, if you don't get them fixed in the locker room, we're not going to like what happens tonight.
Yep.
And I remember walking through the Memorial Stadium over there, telling him
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
walking before during pregame before we got up there, and came out and kicked it off for real, and sure enough, we got it down the field 4, 5, 6 times and never could get it in the
Yep.
end zone.
Yep. Yep.
So it's one of those things, and there's lots of things in your life that you look back, and like you have a child now. It's
Yeah.
a lot different. Those things are more important, but
Yeah.
some of that stuff hangs on to you forever.
Yeah. Me being captain, like, it was a great honor for me. I really enjoyed it, and just the senior experience, playing football, being a senior, going to team dinners, being able to speak at the pep rally,
Hmm.
being able to go to do the coin toss
Hmm.
before the games. It was an awesome honor. I really enjoyed it. I remember before I went to Saginaw, and then when I was a freshman, underclassman, I was like, man, it must be so cool to, be down there and, talk to the masses. And the fact that I finally got to do it whenever I never thought I would, like that. It was awesome. So, glad I got to be a part of that. Glad I got to experience it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's part of that too. A lot of young men see that, and that's a huge deal for them. But you also got to see the other side. I mean, we use that. Those captains are selected by your peers and your coaches. I
Yeah.
mean, and so, God, it's not a popularity contest. There's a
Yeah.
reason guys get put on there, and obviously there was a reason that you were selected for that.
Mhm.
And to represent us, and to, like you said, speak at pep rallies and do the things we did. I know we got on TV that year. We went and
Yeah.
got to talk, and speaking to the little kids and
Mhm.
having our captains meetings and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
There's a reason guys like you get selected for that,
Mhm.
because you want guys in there who can and show that potential to be
Yeah.
great and have that leadership that's built into them that
Yeah.
us as old men can see, and
Yeah.
and them as young men just don't know is in there just
Uh-huh.
yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Really enjoyed those donuts at the captain's meetings. Yeah.
Of course, that's always a perk.
Yeah. So, what made you make the decision to leave Saginaw High School?
Well, I had an opportunity. Like I said, I grew up out in West Texas, and I'd coached everywhere but there.
Mhm.
And so I had an opportunity um, that came up right at the end of y'all's season. Towards Christmas, after y'all's year,
Mhm.
after y'all's finished y'all's season, and it was about 50 miles from where I grew up. And in
Mhm.
West Texas terms, 50 miles is just right up the street.
Yeah.
And so I kind of knew the area. I kind of knew some of the families and people that were from there, and I thought it would be a good situation for us to go out there and do what we do at Saginaw, how we built that, and see if we could rebuild a program that was kind of struggling out there. And
Yeah.
so we went out to Fort Stockton, and 6 years later, we did a lot of great things. The kids really bought in, and we ended up couple of district championships and three or four playoff appearances. We've
Yup.
won some playoff games, which
Yup.
were the first ones that town had
Yup.
ever won in
Uh-huh.
school history. And so turned out to be a really good move, and something that I will always cherish and love in my time that we spent
Yeah.
out west.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, you had an amazing run there. Um, led Fort Stockton to three playoff appearances, first two playoff wins in school history,
Hmm.
district coach of the year, three consecutive years in
Hmm.
2019, 2020, and 2021, athletic director of the year in 2020. Like that's all amazing. And I'm willing to bet out of the hundreds and hundreds of high schools in Texas that there aren't that many coaches. There's a small percentage that achieve what you achieved there. How was it like coaching at your old stomping grounds and then being so successful there?
I think the success was, first of all, to the first part of the question, it was awesome.
Hmm.
It's just it's a different area from being in the Metroplex. People are different. And like I said earlier when we started this, that, football kind of defines your community when you get out to those places, because there's not a whole lot else. I mean, the families have been there for generations,
Yeah.
and they're very prideful of their town.
Mhm.
And actually, the place in Fort Stockton was kind of a rival school of where I grew up. So
Oh, okay.
there was a few people that were a little skeptical at first,
All right.
but to get out there and become someone from outside the community and be accepted in the community is tremendous,
Yeah.
and you gain a lot of trust of the people that you have to deal with every day,
Mhm.
And the success, it's just a byproduct.
Mhm.
We went out there, established our program. Um, you've been through it. You know the philosophy. You know how to we treat kids and what football means, and establish some of that protocol with them. And
Mhm.
once the kids bought in, the parents bought in soon after, and then success just built on itself. So I was just lucky enough to be, at the top part of that, where that kind of has a fall on somebody. But
Mhm.
it was a result of a whole lot of people, especially those young men out there that really decided that they were going to change their course
Mhm.
and do it the way we had installed it. And they saw how the success started to build, and then it just took off from there. And
Yeah.
you can go out there today, and those kids that are practicing today in two-a-days in Fort Stockton, Texas, they don't think anybody can beat them. And that's something that it's special. I'm very proud of.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. And I love that for you. I love that for them.
Mhm.
The return. And to me, your career kind of mirrors LeBron James a little bit. You make your career at Saginaw High School. You leave. Not gonna lie, Saginaw, after when you left, Saginaw was pretty much down in the dumps, barely could win a game. Now you come back in 2022. Why'd you decide to come back?
I think it's just a lot of like I said earlier, it's I feel like it is my hometown. I
Hmm.
told you I went out west because it was from where I'm from,
Hmm.
and that was important to me. Well, all those years I was away, I never quit rooting for
Hmm.
the Rough Riders.
Hmm.
I kept up with them. There's a lot of guys that I coached, your age and older that still I talked with and texted with and just the area, the years that we spent here. Both of my kids are graduates of
Hmm.
Saginaw High.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, Hunter, my son, he went all the way from High Country Elementary all the way up through. So being a coach and as much as you move around, like I said, it's Saginaw is as close to a hometown really
Yeah.
as I have,
Yeah.
especially in my professional life. And
Yeah.
so having an opportunity to come back and maybe reestablish what we kind of had before is something to me that's important. I feel like in this job that I'm a builder in programs and really not a maintainer. I think
Hmm.
that even as an assistant, most of the programs I've ever been associated with were on the down and we got them on the up. And so having a chance to come back and do that
Hmm.
was very important and exciting and all those things. And getting a chance to be back at home was something that was so I just couldn't pass it up.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, I was excited because, me and Jermaine went up there in midnight scrimmage, and
Hmm.
everybody was excited. Last year, y'all finished 1-9, I
Hmm.
believe. Why do you think y'all only won one game?
I think it's a combination of lots of stuff, but a lot of it was we got in late. Came in May instead of usually when you change jobs, you'll come in January, February. Got a chance to kind of establish.
True.
We really didn't have that, and then you got to win over the players.
Hmm.
And it's when you're not seeing them for a whole semester and you just got the summer.
True.
They've been in a situation where they struggled a little bit. Well, here comes some guys who I've been gone just long enough for them not to know
Not to know what you've
what
done
had gone
before.
on. And
Hmm.
so having to reestablish that, I think, was part of it. But I think about halfway through the season, that started to click and we really started to play well.
Hmm.
Our last 5 games were our best five, and so I think that going in and now having a whole off season and we played spring football,
Yeah.
we got a good group of kids that are here, and I'm very excited about the possibilities of getting us back on the right path,
Yeah.
starting here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I'm kind of jealous. Y'all got to play at the Star in Frisco. That
Yeah.
that seems badass.
Yes, yes.
Um, what do you expect for the talking about here in a couple weeks?
Hmm.
What do you expect for the upcoming 2023 football season for your team?
I expect us to field a ultra competitive team every week.
Hmm.
I think that was always our trademark before, is win, lose or draw. I know that when people played us, it was fixing to be a battle.
Yeah.
They were going to have to. You're going to have to beat us to the end to
Yeah.
beat us.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see that again. I do think that our talent level is high. We've got some really good players at some positions, and I think just to see the drive in the kids and the want
Hmm.
to get out of what they are
Yeah.
is there,
Yeah.
and so that's hard to maintain. When you get out there and the other team starts hitting back,
Hmm.
it's a
Yeah.
little bit different. But I expect to see us get in every ball game, or most every one, because
Hmm.
we're in a very very tough district,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do expect us getting there with a chance to win when we get off the bus.
Oh yeah. You just mentioned it. How tough do you think the competition is in your district, or are there any teams that y'all looking at, kind of eyeing? Going to be eyeing through the season?
I think top to bottom, our district is probably one of the toughest in the state. We
Hmm.
got the middle of the road, what you would say in the predictions, the Azles, the Brewers, the Saginaws, the Colonies. They're all really good teams. I
Hmm.
mean, really good teams, and,
Yeah.
and won lots of games. And so that's what you're talking about. The guys who aren't at the forefront of, like the Dave Campbell's predictions and
Hmm.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. Well, then you have people like Alito and Denton Ryan and Burleson Centennial, Justin Northwest. Those guys are all, top 20. And to some of them, Alito, they're number one,
Yeah.
preseason. And Ryan's probably not far behind them,
Yeah.
And so there's some really high level competition.
Hmm.
Great coaching staffs. That's another thing. You
Hmm.
get back in this area and really get to outcoach people too much, because everybody's got great coaches, and so it's a huge hill to climb. But I think that we're on the steep part, closer to the top than we were when we started.
Yeah. Y'all still play Boswell and Chisholm?
We do. We open up
Okay,
the
good.
season with Boswell, actually, August 25th.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I will try to make that
I
for
sure
sure.
hope you are.
Y'all still got the Battle of the Wheel going
We
on?
sure do.
Okay,
We
good.
sure do.
Good.
So that's our opening night at Saginaw. So it'll be a madhouse in there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to that game. I'm definitely gonna go to the homecoming game. I'm gonna take my wife and my daughter to the homecoming carnival and the homecoming game. The homecoming carnival was always special because I know, like,
Yes.
I don't know if it's a district thing or if it's just a Saginaw thing, but not too many other people I talk to outside of Saginaw have homecoming carnivals. So I always like that about us.
Yes, it is. It's just a Saginaw thing, like I said, and it's crazy fun. Like I've coached all over, and I've never even been to a place or heard of one that did it like that until we got to Saginaw, and it was kind of a tradition we started from day one, just because it's such a neighborhood school, and you know how everybody shows up.
Yeah,
I mean, people that don't even have kids in school are there for all that stuff. So yeah, it's especially your wife. You know, she'll enjoy getting to see that.
Yeah, and hopefully maybe I might see some old teachers there.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah,
there's still some there.
Yeah. My cousin, his name is David Kasongo. He plays for Chisholm as a defensive tackle. I don't know if you
I do.
Okay, yeah. He's my cousin, and it's kind of funny because, you know, I'm gonna be rooting for him too, because I think he's a junior right now. And except for when he goes and plays against Saginaw, you know, I'm rooting for Saginaw to win, but him to have personal success. Every other game I'm gonna root for him. So I just wanted to bring that up. That's all the time that we got for today. Thank y'all for watching this episode of the Banganator podcast. Please tune in and subscribe, and please follow me on the Banganator podcast. And once again, thank you, Coach, for coming on. It's been an honor. Any last words?
You know, I'm much appreciated for the invite. If you ever want me again, man, I'm a phone call away, and I'd love to be here. And you know, like to ask the fans to come on out. August 25th is a home opener against Boswell. We start our fall camp practices next Monday, August the 7th. So please be there to support your Rough Riders.
Y'all heard the man. Go out and support Rough Riders. So let's go, Rough Riders.
Go Rough Riders.
The Banganator podcast is brought to you by Esley Banga, diehard fan of the Dallas Cowboys since 1997. How about them Cowboys?